Hello and welcome to the Football Breakdown's Fantasy EFL Gameweek 29 preview show. It's Thursday the 20th of February. I'm Matthew South.
And I'm Ian Cooper.
Yes, hello, welcome everyone to the preview show for Gameweek 29 in Fantasy EFL. We're hitting the final stretch. You know, we're in late February now. Seasons are hitting that important point of the season where every game feels huge. Just come off the back of a few big results in the championships at the top and the bottom of the table. So it's starting to heat up a bit. Ian, how was your last week?
Yeah, it's been really good, thank you. And I can only echo that, really. It's really interesting the results when the pressure's on, especially when it's two teams that have that feeling the same sort of pressure. It makes it really hard to predict how the game's going to go. So going into this game week, it's been entertaining, let's say that.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, there's been some great games to watch from a football perspective as like a neutral, really entertaining stuff. But when it comes to trying to pick fantasy players and fantasy results out of it's tough. It's tough. But we'll get onto our selections shortly. Should we have a look back to how we got on last week?
Yeah. How did you get on?
It was a frustrating start to the week for me. So I did say I had a couple of players that I was unsure in my lineups that whether or not they were going to be fit, going to start, and that was Okonkwo and Kone, and neither were available. So I swapped Okonkwo out for Murphy Cooper from Stevenage, which I thought, given the fixtures, was a safe swap. We did say on the pod though that we were more favouring, their forward players than their defensive players, and no clean sheets, no extra points, just 4-point week for him. And annoyingly, Mark Howard, who did start for Wrexham, got an assist in the first game along with his clean sheet, so it would have been some lovely extra points for if I had just gone a direct swap for Okonkwo for Howard, but didn't do that. And then up front, the Kone 3 p.m. kickoff kind of put me into a position where if he wasn't going to be in the squad, which I just couldn't find any information out even on Saturday about it. So there was nothing being said. Like, no one seems to know what this supposed injury is that I can find anyway. And because the game's at 3 p.m, it meant I missed the half-12 windows, so a few of my backup selections are gone. So I decided to gamble and pivot to Dion Charles and hope that he would just finally open his account for Huddersfield. Instead, he was hauled off at half-time and didn't start the second game and just returned 2 points on the week. So, yeah, those two were real poor picks. They weren't my first choices, but just it is what it is. But then the rest of the team was good. The rest of the team was really good. Johnson, 24 points. I've been talking him up for a while. I've seen him in more and more people's teams. Just absolutely quality defender. Rooney, Katic, 11 and 14 points. Molyneux, 11 points. Kemp, 13 points. Captain to 26. Argyle and Doncaster both lost their first games, which was terrible. The Argyle one was a risk. I kind of appreciated that I was aiming for the double away, and I knew it was going to be risky. So I kind of accepted that. The worst case might happen. Doncaster, though, just have those games in them where they just don't turn up, and they lose at home to Grimsby, and then they go away and win 1-0, and I was like, great, I've got the 9 points for them at least. But Argyle give me 3 points with their 1-1 draw last night. So 104-point week, a lot of it's salvaged thanks to the midweek results. It's just disappointing because it's like there's two players in my team that I didn't want and back myself into a hole with, and then have combined for a total of 6 points, which doesn't even achieve any of the other players' tallies, which is how poor those alternatives were. So I think disappointing given the situation.
Yeah, and I finished with 107 points, so pretty similar to you again. In our league, we're still split by just 3 points now. But interestingly, in the last game week, we finished both pretty mid-table in our league. And just for anyone listening, if you do want to join the league, the invitation and the code is in the description. So if you want to get involved, that would be great. So 107 points. Woodman got a clean sheet in the first game, sadly conceded to Millwall in the second, finished on 1. Also got 9 points there. Pretty happy with that. It's kind of, as I said last week, if you get a double game week keeper, then you're more than likely to get score with more points than they are just in the one game. My defenders, James Bolton got 2 clean sheets, 17 points. Really happy with that. Kind of how I expected. I had Nikola Katic as well. Basically, the game last night saved me with the amount of clearances. I believe he got 21 clearances, which is just outrageous. So getting 10 points there. Sadly, Luke Leahy didn't score very well. He made 3 tackles in the first game and then wasn't in the starting 11 for the second game, which is really frustrating because Wycombe won 2-0. So I would have got the clean sheet points there, but he came on off the bench and only scored 1 point. So really disappointed there. However, my 2 midfielders are kind of star of the show. Dan Kemp got 13 points after scoring in the first game, and Luke Molyneux got 2 assists, so an assist in each of his games, and I captained him. So got 22 points there. Really happy with that one. And then my outside pick for striker was Roman Burrell. I've been struggling with strikers all season, and this is probably one of my best returns because he got an assist in the second game. So he managed to get 7 points there. I'm really struggling. I want to go for the informed strikers, but so I just look at their matchups. I don't think they've got great games in the weeks that I want to pick them in. So I go outside the box, and I think I'm stretching too much on that. And then as for the teams, Burton lost the first game, sadly, but got a win in the second game away from home and a clean sheet. So got 9 points there. So salvaged me a bit. And then Wycombe Wanderers frustrating 1-1 draw against Crawley in the first game, but then won 2-0 against Bristol Rovers, which I was kind of banking a double against Bristol Rovers, really going for both teams that play against them. So at least one of the results there went my way. So I finished on 12 points there. So overall, pretty good. It was just 2 disappointing games and 2 disappointing players for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely solid. Yeah, I think the striker point's interesting because I feel like you and me both kind of have issues picking strikers. I think because we almost look too much into the fixtures sometimes, you know. I was almost put off like the week just gone. You know, there were some people I had in my notes. Kickoffs didn't help, and there were some people that I was kind of put off with just because they were facing tougher opposition, and then they end up scoring anyway. I was looking at Orient's double week and thinking, you know, you could have picked Kelman or Donnelly, and it's like, oh, they're tough fixtures, and they both score. And I was like, I picked someone who literally has been dropped midway through the game week. So it is just one of those things of like it's almost overthinking because of the opposition sometimes. Like I'm actually having a look back here and realising I've actually been alright for strikers compared to you, but I've had a few weeks where I've just picked someone and it's actually the worst pick in my team. So yeah, it seems a very common thing. But yeah, so moving into this week then, hopefully we're going to actually come up with some good striker options, seeing as we do suggest 3 each week, and hopefully we'll actually pick a good one. But I'm going to kick this off with the Championship goalkeeper pick this week, and I think probably going to lean into the doubles heavily on all of our picks. I imagine Ian's quite similar with myself. Just, you know, 2 chances of getting good points. The teams on a double in the Championship are Cardiff, Hull, Stoke and Middlesbrough. So my goalkeeper pick is, if you don't think any of those keepers are going to keep a clean sheet at all, then just go James Trafford, and that's fine. And Ian shaking his head, not thinking a keeper is going to do that either. But I think, rather than just being boring and suggesting James Trafford, I'm going to suggest, and it's not that even this is any more exciting, I'm going to suggest Victor Johansson for Stoke. I think Robins is got them set up a little bit more solid. They look a lot better than they did a few weeks ago. I think they even though they haven't really like reinforced that defence per se, it's like it just looks more structured. They look a little bit more settled. It's starting to come together a little bit. And their fixtures are, well, they're away to Norwich and they're at home to Middlesbrough. And I think a few months ago that would seem like the worst possible combination of fixtures to go against. But Norwich have only scored 3 goals in their last 4 games, and Middlesbrough have lost 4 in a row. So you're looking at Johansson, who 2 sides who can attack and shoot. You've got a goalkeeper who's made 121 saves in 32 appearances, so just under 4 a game. Like, if those 2 teams are going to have shots, you're going to be hoping that average hits the 4. That's bonus points doubled. You know, your clean sheet, your save points. Stoke themselves is 4 clean sheets in 8 games, and they actually started the year with 3 straight clean sheets as well. So listen, it's looking a lot more solid for them. If you want to lean into the Championship double game week with a goalkeeper, I think Johansson is the one.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Like you said, out of the four, he is the best one. He's prevented 12.6 goals this season, which is the highest out of any keeper. And interestingly, he's saved 2 out of 4 penalties faced as well. So nice prediction for bonus points there. And I'm going to move straight on to the defender pick. And I'm going for Dimitris Gutas from Cardiff. And it's certainly not a term that is from football, but it is a red flag. Since the start of November, Cardiff have only recorded 2 clean sheets, and that is very alarming. And to be honest, before that point, Gutas has only contributed 5 clean sheets from all season. So why am I going down this avenue? He's actually been a bit of a shining light to this Cardiff side. And also on fantasy, to average 5 points from only 5 clean sheets all season shouldn't be slept on. Gutas has managed 181 clearances, which places him in the top 5 in the Championship defenders. And his average from games in this calendar year is actually 6.2, with only 2 of those games scoring 4 points or under. So with Cardiff playing a double game week, you can see my logic. If he hits this newfound average, he's more than capable of scoring more points than a very high scoring defender playing just one game. And that's without adding the possibility of Cardiff picking up a clean sheet away to Plymouth Argyle or at home to Hull City.
Yeah, no, I think that's a solid pick. I think Cardiff are potential team to lean on this week, as I'm going to talk about with my midfield pick, is I've gone for Ruben Colwell for Cardiff as well. I think the fixtures are, the reason it's just the Cardiff goalkeeper is I don't trust them to keep the clean sheets, but I do think Argyle away, Hull at home is the more favourable fixture list here. Both of those sides give up shots. They give up, Argyle give up the most shots per game in the league, and Hull aren't too far behind. In fact, recently as well, you can just have a look. Even when those sides have picked up results, the opposition have been allowed to have 10, 12, 14, 16 shots, sometimes even more on occasion. So when you got Ruben Colwell playing in that attacking midfield role with 2.16 shots per 90, he's someone who, although he has only found the back of the net once in the league, he did score twice in the cup recently. He's someone who can score goals from outside the box. He'll be allowed to get into the box as well, depending on if Robinson or Salak starts up front. They've got Will Alves started the last game on the wing, El Ghazi on the other side. It's a pretty tricky, fun attack now, and Alves was in consideration for me as well. Just didn't really have the data to kind of firm it in, and they've made quite a few rotations to their lineup recently, so I wasn't convinced on who actually is going to start. But if I was to predict one of them to be a banker, listen, Carwell starts the majority of the games. I can't see him making way. He also, has 4 assists this season, 1.6 chances created. So like I say, 2 sides who will give up chances. You'd think your main playmaker is going to be involved one way or another should Cardiff get a goal.
Yeah, perfect. And I'll get us onto the forwards. And after saying how we struggle with forwards, I'm sticking to my process, and I'm just going to go for an outside pick again. Eventually, one of these has to come in, and I've kind of got 2 options here. I'm sort of making my mind up. So for this game week, I want to go for Delano Bergzorg. He scored 3 goals and 1 assist in his last 6 games. However, with Carrick's side struggling for consistency, Bergzorg was out of the 11 for the last game, but I feel like with his form, he should come back in. And the alternative that I have, which is a risk due to the player coming off the bench in his last game after suffering an injury before the Christmas period. That player is Milian Manioff. His first game back, he claimed an assist inside 30 minutes and was a real bright spark for Stoke in the first half of Stoke's campaign. So I just want to have a little comparison. Bergzorg is in some real form. He's scored 5 goals and 2 assists all season, but his side are in a bad patch of form, while Manhoff is working his way back into the team, but has 3 goals and 5 assists this season. Less games than Bergzorg as well, and unlike Bergzorg's sides, they are in much better form, only losing 2 league games in this calendar year. So really, it sounds like a cop-out. I've got 2 players for this position. I'm kind of waiting to see who's in the starting 11 for these games, but I am siding with Bergzorg at the minute.
Yeah, I think both of those they're definitely fun players. I think one thing I think about them is certainly Manhoef, who I've seen a bit more of. He's very much like a like an eye player. He's someone who's just incredible to watch, really exciting to watch, and you always wonder how that will transfer into fantasy because you don't get points for how good it looks when you play football, but
Yeah.
you get points for what you actually do. But he's just really exciting to watch, and like you say, he's coming back from injury. If he can get in that team, they will give him the ball and he will do stuff, and he'll like I think with the Stoke attackers, because I was even just having a look around, even when they scored 3 goals the other day, it's like there's no one convincing in that team to be like put them in as it's really just Alhamdi and Lowe as well, and they're not exactly finding the back of the net consistently for Stoke yet. So yeah, I get why you've done what you've done with the double. I think I think both of them have their merits. Both of them, like you say, have their drawbacks. I feel the Middlesbrough game is on Friday night, so I'd say just keep that in mind. Anyone who is considering between a couple players, as the Stoke game is on Saturday, so you don't want to get locked out or locked in one way or another. And then, shall we move into League One?
Yeah, and there's 6 double teams that are playing double game week for League One. It's Birmingham, Leyton Orient, Huddersfield, Barnsley, Wigan, and Northampton. So kicking me off the goalkeeper, Ryan Alsop will be a very popular choice this week, but there's a chance. Matt might mention a Birmingham defender. Maybe not certain, but I also feel Reading away is a really tricky task, and Leyton Orient is going to be such an interesting game to predict. So I'm going to go with another recently fit player in Lee Nichols for Huddersfield Town. Nichols has kept 2 clean sheets in his 3 games back from injury. I would say Huddersfield's recent defensive form isn't just down to Nichols being back for selection, but Michael Duff is purposely trying to make them a much tighter unit again after going through a funny spell of 4 games at the start of February where they uncharacteristically conceded a couple of goals. It's also important that Huddersfield play Peterborough and Wigan, who Huddersfield kept clean sheets against both in the reverse fixture. And even better news, Nichols played in that game against Peterborough where he got the clean sheet there as well.
Yeah, solid pick. I think Nichols is a pretty reliable, pretty solid goalkeeper. Now he's back in the team. I think Huddersfield they had that little blip, but they certainly look more solid. I was looking at Radinho Bolka for Huddersfield in defence, but I've actually decided to come up with a different pick, and this might seem a bit odd. And this is line-up and injury dependent, as this guy came off injured in his last game. But it's Jordan Willis for Northampton. So if Jordan Willis is injured, then Bolka will just probably be my pick. But the reason I'm looking at this is Northampton's 2 fixtures are Bristol Rovers and Barnsley, both at home. Bristol Rovers have not scored an away goal in their last 3, and they've scored just 10 away goals all season. Barnsley are on poor form. They haven't won in 6 games. So Northampton, who look a little bit more settled now under Nolan, a little bit more stubborn. They've just come through a pretty tough fixture list. In their last 6 games, they've played Lincoln at home, Wickham away, Bolton away, Huddersfield at home, Mansfield away, Wrexham at home. So the fact that they've actually come away with that with 7 points is pretty solid, I think, given the nature of the opposition. And Willis himself has managed to pick up 13 points away at Wickham, 11 points away at Mansfield. Just before that, 11 points and 9 points in games against Burton and Stevenage, which are more the calibre of opposition we're looking at here. So, Willis does kind of stand out to me. He plays in the middle of a back 3. He averages around 7 clearances a game. In his 13 appearances, they picked up 5 clean sheets. They look so much better with him in the middle. He's someone who's struggled with injury throughout his career, but has always kind of had that talent should he be able to stay fit. So the fact that he did have a knock, they tried to rush him into the game against Wrexham and he just wasn't up for 100%, had to sub him off in the first half when they were already 2-0 down. I think given a week off, he should be coming straight back in, and because they look so much better with him in the team, I don't see it being we'll play you in one and drop you in the other. I see it being if you're fit, you're playing again. So, Jordan Willis for me, important player in that Northampton defence as they look to pull away from relegation.
Yeah, nice. I always find it interesting with a defender in the middle of a back 3, especially when a lot of their defensive contributions are normally away from home. Sort of like how they set up defensively, they're almost more involved in the game. But it is important to say that I don't think this is going to be the case here, as you suggested, with the two teams that they're playing and the caliber of attacks, especially with Bristol Rovers, like they have Chris Martin up front. Like there is really one way that they're going to play, so it's going to be a right battle there. So yeah, just interesting how sometimes when they have home games, defenders sort of performances and it can drop. But like you said, against the two teams that they're playing against, I don't think that's going to be the case. So yeah, good pick there. And going into the midfield pick, so after wanting Ethan Galbraith as my defender pick last week, he was unable as he's a midfielder on EFL Fantasy. And then I was gutted to see that he had a hat-trick of assists against Lincoln. So I just wanted to mention that before I look like I'm jumping on the back of that, as he is my pick going into this game week 2. It's a very different task here, as Leyton Orient played both Bolton and Birmingham away from home. And he only scored 2 points against Wrexham away, which isn't great viewing for this game week. But I think it's worth the risk. As being a midfielder, the clean sheets doesn't matter, and interceptions are far more valuable than blocks and clearances. He also has 5 goals and 5 assists this season, and I just wanted to check this wasn't exclusively against poor teams. It's certainly not for Galbraith, as he has scored against Birmingham, which was at home, and more importantly, scored 2 goals away to a very solid Stockport team.
Yeah, solid pick. Really talented player. And yeah, this is almost one where it's almost like the result doesn't really matter. You just want Galbraith to play well. He can, as a midfielder, pick up interceptions if he is playing back in that kind of outside the midfield positions. But yeah, it was a really talented player, really central to anything they're doing. You know, I think that keeping hold of him in January is pretty important. And up front then to finish off League One. Now I thought this was quite a tough pick, just given if you look at the six teams on a double game week, you know, this is almost again falling into that trap maybe of the fixtures just like getting too obsessed with who teams are playing. You know, like Wigan have Wickham away and Huddersfield at home. I don't really see them creating too many opportunities in those games. Huddersfield, I think, have a good chance, but I just don't know who to pick for their out-and-out striker. I flopped with Charles last week. Could go Koroma. He just has those inconsistencies. I don't think he's the one to lead the line for them, even though he did the other day. I don't think he's a natural number 9. Orient do have tough fixtures, but again, they did last week and they came through it, so Kelman and Donnelly are choices there. And then Northampton don't really want to trust one of their strikers, even though I want to trust their defender. And Barnsley have been terrible recently, so I almost don't want to do that. So that leaves me on Birmingham, who are the best team in the league, and the team who are clearly going to make the most chances in their 2 games. So I want to pick a Birmingham striker, but Jay Stansfield is injured. So we're going to go Alfie May, in the thought that he's the one who should just come in for a direct like-for-like replacement so they can keep playing the way that they play. Now, Alfie May does have 10 goals this season. This isn't, it's not like we're picking someone who's, absolutely nobody type thing stepping up, but he hasn't scored a goal in the league since game week 22 against Wigan, where he got a double. He's actually not really started or featured much off the bench recently. If he's been getting small cameos, he didn't play in midweek either in the EFL Trophy. Dykes ended up scoring the winner. Oh, sorry, I think he did come on for Stansfield, but Dykes is the one who came on and scored as well. But I don't see them changing their whole setup to just go with Dykes up top. So I think May will be the one who gets given the nod. And, Stansfield were kind of scoring at a rate of a goal every game because the chances they create for him. Of course, he's a really good striker at this level. But they're still going to create those chances and they're still going to need someone to score the goals. And May already has 10 goals. He's proven he can do that despite the limited minutes. His actual per 90 stats, 2.36 shots per 90, 0.58 goals per 90. It's a goal every other full game that he plays, and 1.04 chances created. So, I think just given the calibre of the team he plays for, I think Alfie May is just too hard to overlook this week. He is in 24.1% of teams, but I'm pretty sure we can just gather that a lot of people who started the game are no longer playing the game, given his recent spells on the sidelines.
Yeah, no, good pick. It'll be like you said, it'll be interesting to see what sort of lineup and formation they go with. They do have a habit of trying to play a back five occasionally, and that's where I think they might suffer, is in not being in the lineup, especially over the two games. Like, if you see him in the lineup for the first game, you think, oh, brilliant, like, let's get him in. Then you are worried about that second game that you have no sort of control over. But with Stanford not being an option, I don't see them playing Dykes 2 games in a row without May featuring at all. So, yeah, natural replacement, absolutely.
So, jumping into League 2 then, and I will kick us off with the goalkeeper pick. Now, I am going to go with one of the most informed keepers in the most informed defences right now, and that is Sam Walker. I feel like pretty straightforward pick this week of, like, there's a standout. Walker looks like the best one. 6 clean sheets in 7 games. Bradford are on a double game week against MK Dons and Bromley. The MK Don games is at home. The Bromley game is away. 2 potentially tough fixtures on paper, but Bradford games recently have been tight anyway. They know how to edge those games out. I'm not too worried. MK Dons have only won 1 game in their last 9 as well, and Bromley have only scored once in their last 3 home games. So there's numbers to back up Bradford going there and keeping a clean sheet at Bromley and just beating MK Dons this weekend. And when they win, they keep clean sheets. So Walker for me, over 2 saves a game as well. So there's the bonus points in there too. But pretty solid. Not too much else to say on him.
Yeah, it's definitely it is Bradford's defenders doing the heavy lifting. Luckily, Walker's benefiting from that, so we should also benefit from that too with this pick. And I'm going to go into defender pick at League 2, and it might be a player that many EFL fans haven't heard of. He signed from Burnley after only playing 5 professional games on loan at Swindon last year. But I'm going to talk about Ben Ward for Accrington. If I talk through his record just after 6 games, it's stunning. He already has 3 clean sheets, 64 clearances, and an average rating of 8.5. He's 0% selected, so I would have saved him for my sub 0.1 pick, but he's just scoring so well. I couldn't pick another defender over him right now for this game week. And moving away from fantasy side of things, I just want to break down his defensive actions per 90. He completes 1.8 tackles, 8.3 duels won, 5.2 aerial duels won, 2 interceptions, and 3.7 recoveries made. It's signings like this that just make me so happy. And I'll get back on the task in hand. He is playing a double game week. He has Doncaster at home and Tranmere away. But look, with an 8.5 average, while he's on in form and he's just contributing so much to this Accrington team, I'm going to stick with him.
Yeah, no, very good. I'm actually joining you on Accrington with my midfield pick. I am going Sean Whalley, absolute legend in the EFL, 37 now, and he's still a pretty key cog in that Accrington team. He's got 7 goals and 4 assists this season. He's probably still got one of the best right foots in the league. 2.34 shots per 90, 0.3 goals per 90 as well, 1.82 chances created, 1.39 crosses. And the thing I like about this pick right now is with Accrington struggling, they do keep moving their team around, and that so happens to mean that Sean Whalley is basically playing up front. It's like a 3-4-1-2. It's him and Tyler Walton, who also counts as a midfielder on this game, and I almost went with. But Whalley's class just edges him for me. He's someone who I feel like can just score incredible goals, just needs a sniff, and he's happy to shoot. They've got games against Doncaster and Tranmere. Doncaster, we know, have a dodgy result in them. They give away opportunities. They are a good team, but they're not a solid team. And Tranmere, whilst that game is away from home, and Tranmere games at Tranmere are just terrible and usually like have such low goals involved in them, it still doesn't mean they're invincible at home. In fact, like across the season, they've conceded 49 goals. Only 16 of those have come at home. So they are solid at home, but they also don't win those games either. So listen, it's not like there won't be chances for Wally to stick one into the corner of the net. So yeah, I just think that while I might have a potential other stand-up midfielder coming later, I think Wally with the chance of him playing up front is definitely worth consideration given the double game week.
Lovely. And the final pick for this selection, I am going to go for a forward, and I'm going to go for a Walsall forward. And obviously, it's a theme this season, isn't it, really? Sadly, since Nathan Lowe was recalled and losing his place in the Stoke start 11, it took a few games for Walsall to adjust as well. But Lowe's former partner, Jamil Matt, has regained form and scored 2 goals in his last 2 games. He's a very, very solid striker at this level, averaging just under a goal every other game when starting, and is overachieving his XG by 2 goals. And this is very important. I want him to overachieve this metric as it reflects his good quality in finishing. However, I don't want it to be the scale too big, as it would then suggest he's not being provided with good goal-scoring opportunities. So it's at that perfect sweet point for him there. So yeah, I'm going for Jamil Matt this week.
Yeah, solid striker in a team who seem to be getting over that little blip they had. Yeah, they need, if they have a good week here, you think they could probably, see that title over the line, like probably the automatic promotion, probably more importantly, but also the title given their lead. Yeah, I think Matt's going to be central to them doing that as well. So no, I think that's a solid pick. So now moving into our sub 0.1% picks. As always, myself and Ian will pick a player who has been selected by 0.1% of players or less on the day of recording. So as of right now. And yeah, we have to put them in our team for the week. Ian, do you want to tell me who your pick is?
Yeah, go for it. So 4 out of my 6 picks this episode have been available for this selection, but I don't want to repeat myself. So I've got a bit of a task in finding someone, but I found them quite quickly. And I found a player who I haven't seen hyped over after being recalled to his parent club, and that is Sam Gale of Gillingham. He spent the first half of the season on loan at Chelmsford Town, where he was brilliant. Gale is another centre-back who is deemed as a midfielder on EFL Fantasy and averages just over 2 clearances per match. Also has 2 interceptions per match, but also has 1 assist in 6 appearances. Importantly, his average points are fantastic at 7.3. So it's going to be so interesting to see how he gets on this double game week against Carlisle and Fleetwood. And Matt, I can see you laughing, and I think we've got into a predicament here. So do you want to talk to me about it?
Yeah, so my sub 0.1 pick for the week is Sam Gale from Gillingham. Yeah. I echo everything you just said. Yeah, playing in the back 3 on the left-hand side. His interception numbers are brilliant. He's got an assist. He can take a shot or 2, his average points are just so high, he just stands out. It's one of those things of, you can easily get trapped in on the averages of players sometimes. I think as I spoke with like Johnson of like, his average points would actually be really high if you took out a few games and certain players who've only played 1 or 2 games. Or Gale's actually playing 6 now and his points haven't dropped. He's still getting that. And I think something that benefits him as well is as a midfielder, Gillingham aren't keeping those clean sheets, but he's still benefiting from playing in defence. So, we're not losing out anything by him being a midfielder playing in defence, which I think is good. But yeah, I think it's the first time we've ever had the same player. So I think we're just gonna, I guess he's in for both of us, and if he has a shocker, then we're both gonna suffer from it. So Sam Gale is the joint pick.
At least we can say if no one else has picked him in the league, then we could benefit from them. So we're playing against you guys listening as well.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on the league. If anyone else ends up with Sam Gale in their team, then, well, you're welcome. With that done, I will give you a full rundown of what my team looks like right now. So currently, I have Sam Walker in goal. My back 3 is Radinho Bolker from Huddersfield, Jordan Willis from Northampton, and Ayodeji Elawere from Bromley, who is another player who's at a 7.3 point average, 0% selected, has only played 6 games all season, but has actually played the last 2. So if one of us if we did want to differ on our sub 0.1 picks, I guess I could pivot to this, but I'm going to stick with Gale because that's who I had written down. But yeah, do have him in my team too. Gale in the midfield, currently with the captain's armband on, and Ruben Colwell as well. And then up top, I have Alfie May.
Nice. And I've also gone pretty true to my selections here. So I've got Lee Nichols in goal, Dimitri Gutas, and Ben Ward in defence. I've gone Ethan Galbraith and Sam Gale in midfield. And currently I do have two strikers. It's kind of because I'm in an R-ing and which one to have. But I have gone Bergzorg and Jamil Matt.
Yeah, no, very nice, very nice. Yeah, and so these may not be our final teams. We'll lock in our teams before the weekend, of course. But with it being Thursday, team news and things like that, we might make some changes and maybe just general change of heart on certain players. But yeah, so please do follow us on our socials. We're on X at FBBD Pod. We're on Bluesky as Football Breakdown. And should we make any changes, we will post them there before kickoff on, Friday night is when everything gets underway, and also a few reminders on Saturday as well. So into the final section of the show then, which is our teams to win. So we'll pick two teams to win as per the game, but myself and Ian will put a £5 bet on our teams to win their first game of the game week, and we have a little head-to-head going. So the betting part is for over 18s only, and please gamble responsibly. But Ian, who have you picked this week to win?
Yeah. So for the first selection, I've gone for Huddersfield Town, who play against Peterborough at home, and then Wigan away. Like I said, with the goalkeeper pick, I just think they're more defensively solid. Both teams that they're playing are struggling for goals a little bit, especially with Wigan losing Asgard as well. That's just a real pivotal player to lose when you're not scoring too much on a regular basis. So I've gone for Huddersfield there. And in the second game, I've gone for Bradford City, who play MK Dons at home and then Bromley away. I think they've got too much for MK Dons, who are struggling lately with goal scoring. And as we actually mentioned off air, the Bradford Bromley game is going to be really interesting. Interesting as in, I don't know if either team are going to be capable to score against each other, but even if you get the 0-0 there, that's still 5 points, so I'm pretty happy with that. So for the two teams on their first game in the game week, my £5 returns me £14.63.
Yeah, no, we were talking offline. We didn't know each other's actual picks. We did have an idea that both of us are going to suggest Bradford, just given the conversation around it. I actually have exactly the same picks. So I do also have Huddersfield. So I did kind of hint that I probably have Bradford to you offline. But yeah, it was kind of umming and ahhing between Bradford and Bromley. I trust Bradford's defence just a bit more than Bromley's defence and attack, which is what has edged me to Bradford. Plus, them being away to Bromley in that second game means that should Bradford sneak the win, that's an extra 2 points for it being away from home, whereas Bromley are double home games. So that's why I went Bradford over Bromley. And Huddersfield, I just think Peterborough at home, Wigan away is just a good fixture list for a team who have now won their last two, had a little run of games where they did look like they were struggling to kind of just even know how to try and play or what they wanted to do. Almost like with the two strikers coming in, they had like a lot of hope and expectation around everything just clicking for them, and it didn't. And Duff's taken some time to maybe adjust a few things. They actually were playing like 4-2-3-1 in the week, which was quite interesting. But it seems to be doing the trick for them. So yeah, it just shows that they are a team who can adjust, who can adapt, and I think that's quite important over a double game week. And Peterborough away from home just don't look too good. Wigan, like you say, have lost Asgard. We're going to struggle to break down this Huddersfield team. They do give up chances as well. So if I was to back either side to take a winner in that game, I'd be backing Huddersfield. So £14.63 is the same return for myself. But I think interesting that we actually don't talk about our picks offline. We kind of hinted the Bradford one together as we were discussing our final teams before recording, but we've also ended up with the same teams and the same sub-point one pick, which I think is interesting. We generally don't discuss this beforehand, so it's always a nice surprise when we get on the pod and realise that one of us has mentioned something that the other was literally about to talk about, I think.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. It just shows that look, we have similar sort of research. That's probably why we're so close in the league as well. Bearing in mind we don't talk,
Yeah.
we are split by I think 3 points after the whole season, which feels crazy to me.
Yeah, no, it is wild. Yeah, probably. It's maybe it's like I mean, maybe it's a good thing that when I go to suggest someone, you're kind of backing it up, but then I'm also looking at the league table, being like, well, neither of us are top, so maybe we do need to get some new thinking in here. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see after this week. But yeah, so that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you everyone for listening, and I hope you all enjoyed. And yeah, do follow us on the socials to keep up to date with our teams before the weekend, and enjoy the football. There's no Thursday night game, so the game week does kick off tomorrow night with a double championship affair. Thank you, Ian,
Thank you, Matthew.
and take it easy.